morning, class. So, how's everyone feeling today? Did you all have your coffee? Or I'm expecting a few yawns for today's lesson.
We are ready, sir.
We are ready, sir.
We are ready, Sir Asif.
Oh, we are ready, Sir Asif. Just waiting to be inspired.
Great energy. So now, today we are diving into some fascinating areas of language in academic writing, spoken English, and literary text. But before we jump in, let me ask you one question. Okay, how often do you think about the little details in a sentence that give it more meaning? For example, like words that describe how, when, or how much something happens.
Are you talking about adverbs, sir?
Yes, exactly, Aina. So adverbs are actually the secret sauce in academic writing because they give clarity and precision to what we say. Well, actually, Haris has been working hard on this topic, so let's us hear from him. Haris, could you share some insights and examples of adverbs in academic writing?
Sure, sir. So I have analyzed a research article titled Impact of the COVID-19 Pandemic on Online Learning in Higher Education. Adverbs play a crucial role in academic writing, especially when describing trends, impacts, and also the intensity of actions. So let me share some examples and the grammar features. So here is my data after I have analyzed the whole article. So for the first example I took is the word significantly, which is an adverb. The sentence is, the COVID-19 pandemic significantly disrupted higher education by forcing the transition to online learning. So here, significantly is an adverb of degree, modifying the verb disrupted. It emphasizes the extent of the disruption caused by the pandemic. Next example is gradually. The sentence is, although the epidemiological situation has gradually improved since then, online learning is becoming even more popular. The adverb gradually is an adverb of manner, which modifies the verb improve. It describes the slow and steady pace of the recovery. Next, notably. The sentence here is, notably, the topics must frequently discussed in the research were ICT, pedagogy, mental health, and student experience. Here you can see that notably is an adverb of degree, which emphasizes the importance of the topics being highlighted in the research. Next, the word frequently. Research on online learning frequently emphasizes the role of ICT and pedagogy. This here is an adverb of frequency modifying a verb, which is emphasized. It indicates that these themes were consistently discussed in the research. Next, effectively. The sentence here is, teachers were required to adapt effectively to new modes of online teaching and learning. The adverb actively is an adverb of manner, modifying the verb adapt. It shows the need for practical and successful adaptation by the teachers. Last but not least is substantially. The sentence here is, substantially more research focused on mental health than in previous years. Substantially here is an adverb of degree, which modifies the verb focused. It highlights the sharp increase in mental health research in this article. That's all from me.
Great examples, Harris. Class, can you see how this adverb enhance the clarity of the sentences? Like words like significantly, gradually, and frequently give more precision and depth to the writing. So, Harris, why do you think adverbs are so essential in academic writing?
Yes, sir. So I think that adverbs provide clarity and nuance, which help to specify the intensity, the manner, or the frequency of actions and trends. For example, substantially and effectively emphasize key points which make the text more precise and impactful. Without adverbs, I think academic writing would feel less descriptive and less convincing.
Okay, good explanation, Harris. So now, let's test your understanding. Okay, imagine you are writing about how students adapt to online learning. Okay, so which of these sentences, I'm going to give you the sentences later, sounds more impactful? Okay, so first one is students adapted to online learning, and the second one is students adapted effectively to online learning.
Definitely the second one. The adverb effectively shows that they did a good job adapting, which makes the sentence more descriptive.
Exactly, Huda. So adverbs make writing richer and more precise. Well done, everyone. So now let's move on to our next topic, which is modal verbs in spoken English. So Huda and me, get ready. Alright, so now that we've explored adverbs in academic writings, let's jump into modal verbs in spoken English. Okay, so modal verbs are fascinating. Okay, very, very fascinating because they can express so many things. For example, like possibility, necessity, or even ability. So Huda, can you tell us more about modal verbs and how are they used in spoken English?
Of course, sir. Modal verbs are like auxiliary verbs like can, could, must, might, shall, should, will, and would. They help us express things like logical possibility, ability, necessity, and permission. Modal verbs make speech flexible and expressive, especially in conversations.
Well explained, Huda. So, Mimi, I believe you found some great real-world example about modal verbs in spoken English, right? So, could you share them with us?
Sure, sir. I analyzed a video about climate change from Al Jazeera, and here are a few examples. First, there is this sentence, we must act now to prevent further damage. This is a great example of logical possibility because the modal verb must is used to show a strong possibility and a sense of urgency. It emphasizes how important and immediate the action needs to be. Next, there is this sentence, sea levels might rise even faster than expected. Here might is another modal verb under logical possibility but is weaker than must. It indicates uncertainty about whether this will happen, but it still warns us to be cautious about the possibility. Then, I came across this one. This policy could have significant impacts on emissions. The modal verb could is also about logical possibility, but it's used to suggest a weaker chance compared to must or might. It feels less certain, but it still points out that there is possibility of impact. Another example is governments should set more ambitious targets. This falls under the category of necessity because should is used here to give advice or a recommendation. It's like saying this is what's needed to make a difference, but in a subtle, less commanding way than must. Finally, there is the sentence, you can change your habits to reduce emissions. This one demonstrates ability as the modal verb can is used to show capability. It's telling us that we are capable of making changes ourselves to help the situation. So, these examples highlight how modal verbs are used in real conversation to convey emotions and intentions.
Good example, Mimi. So, class, do you see how modal verbs bring clarity and purpose to speech? Okay, they help us to express things more naturally, especially in spoken English, right? So now, Huda, can you explain to all of us how modal verb in spoken English differ from their use in written English?
Sure, in spoken English, modal verbs are often used more informally. For example, we use constructions like I'll for I will, she for she will. Sometimes people even combine models in certain dialects like might, could, which makes the speech sound more casual. And in contrast, written English tends to follow stricter rules and no constructions or double models.
Let's see how well you can use modal verb. Okay, I'll give you a situation. Okay, and you respond with an appropriate modal verb. Ready? Okay, so scenario 1. You're warning your friend about a possible danger. What would you say?
I would like to answer, sir. My answer is you must be careful crossing the road. It's very slippery.
Yes, good, Mimi. So must conveys urgency and necessity. So let's try another one, okay? Scenario 2. Your teacher asks if you're able to finish your project on time. So what do you say? Anyone?
How about I can finish it by tomorrow? No problem.
Perfect, Huda. So can express ability. So modal verbs are indeed, right, powerful tools for communication. Well done, everyone. So now let's move on to our final area, which is literary text. Aina, you're up next. Great job on modal verbs, everyone. So now let's move on to our final area, which is adjectives in literary text. So Aina, you have chosen the novel The Rape of Nancy Ng by Tunku Halim to explore how adjectives enhance storytelling, right? So Aina, could you start by telling us about the types of adjectives and their role in creative writing?
Sure, sir. So adjectives are essential in creative writing because they create imagery, they evoke emotions, and they immerse readers in the narrative. So in this novel, we focus on 4 types, which are compound, comparative, descriptive, and possessive adjectives. So let me start with compound adjective first. Compound adjectives are unique descriptors formed by combining 2 or more words and often linked with a hyphen, and they add nuance to writing by creating vivid imagery. So here are some examples that I found in the novel for compound adjectives. Okay, so the first one is on page 51, which is blurry-eyed. Blurry-eyed. So the context of the sentence here is standing blurry-eyed in one boutique after another. And the impact when the readers read this is that this compound adjective conveys physical and emotional exhaustion, and it immerses readers in the character's struggles. Okay, for the second example, it is wide-eyed, which I found on page 54. The context here is he stared wide-eyed as 2 waitresses brought over the food. So the impact from this adjective is that it captures childlike wonder and astonishment and amplifies the emotional intensity of the scene. Wide-eyed. Right, now we go for the third example for compound adjective, which is cotton-like, that I found on page 58. And this sentence is like his heart soared upon cotton-like clouds. So when the readers read this, it creates a dreamy and euphoric atmosphere by blending sensory and abstract imagery. Yeah, that's what I think.
Great examples, Aina. Now, what about comparative adjectives?
Alright everyone, now for comparative adjectives, they highlight differences or progression and they add depth to description. So here are some examples that I found in the chosen literary text. The first one is on page 56, which is narrower. And the sentence is like making the narrow street narrower. So the repetition of the word narrow here intensifies the claustrophobic imagery and it makes the readers feel the character's frustration, because when I read this part, I really feel like I am trapped in this street and it gives me a claustrophobic feeling. Okay, now we move on to the second one, which is better, which I found on page 62. And the sentence in this novel is like offering an entry into a better world. So this contrasts flawed reality with an idealized world of technology, and it adds irony, it adds depth by using this adjective. And the third example for comparative adjective is one that I found on page 82, which is older. I think most of the examples for this type are very simple because comparative adjectives are simple and easily understandable, right? So the context for this sentence is older he became, his flesh decomposing until a gleaming skull. And the sentence and the use of the adjective older here captures the inevitability of aging and decay, and it draws readers into a visceral experience.
Word Aina. So descriptive adjectives are next, right?
Yep, sir, that's right. Okay, everyone. Now for descriptive adjective. Descriptive adjective engage the senses and create vivid imagery. And there are a few examples that I found in the novel. First one is on page 70, which is rotten. And the sentence is like rotten teeth, which describes barren hills. So the word or the adjective rotten here evokes disgust and turns the hills into a grotesque metaphor for environmental destruction. Moving on to the second one, it is cacophony, which is on page 75, and the context is a cacophony of insects' voices that describes the soundscape in a moldy room, and when this adjective is being used, it transforms an ordinary noise into an overwhelming and immersive experience. And the last one is on page 76, which is eerie. And the sentence in the novel is like the eerie wailing fading into death-like silence. And this adjective set a haunting tone and reinforced the themes of mortality and loss.
Wonderful examples, Aina. So let's finish with possessive adjectives, can we?
Okay, so possessive adjectives are very simple. They're like my, his, their, that establish ownership and personal connection. And I only found a few simple examples from the novel. And the first one is on page 54, which is his. And the context is his stomach grown in protest. And this adjective, it personalizes the character's hunger, making it more tangible. The second one is their on page 56. So the sentence is their windows glowing like eyes. So the possessive adjective here transform the houses, the window, into living entities, and it adds an eerie quality. And finally, the actual last example from me is mine, which is on page 70. And the context from the novel is my destination was 22 minutes away. And the adjective here creates a sense of immediacy and personal investment, and it immerses readers in the narrator's journey, in the character's journey. So I think that's all from my part. I refer all of these examples here from the literary text that I chose, which is The Raid of Nancy Ng by Tunku Halim. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Aina. So, through these examples that have been presented by Aina, we see how adjective, whether it's a compound adjective, comparative, descriptive, or possessive, they are powerful tools in storytelling. So, they evoke emotion and they build imagery, and they also bend traditional grammar rules to enrich the narrative. Class, any question before we wrap up?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Thank you, Sir Asif. Thank you, everyone. Good job.